Good morning, my fellow Malaysians. This is Dr. K.N. Singh again with some comments about the interview Dr. Mahatir made on Tani TV. He came along very strongly that Indians are racist and are not loyal to Malaysia. He also alleged that the Indian government is racist and is suppressing the Muslims and the Christians, making it difficult for them in secular India, without realizing that is exactly what he did in his years as Prime Minister, where he suppressed the other Malaysians to Indians and Chinese and favored the Malays in the NEP policy. He also forgets that India has no NEP policy and they follow meritocracy. He was derogatory that the Indian majority of Hindus who are in Malaysia and insists that they are not immigrants and cannot call Malaysia their home, because he's unhappy that they do not practice the Malay culture and even wants them to convert to Islam so that they qualify to be Malaysians. He apparently claims he's 100% Malay. He seems to advocate secularism for India but refused to accept non-Malays as Malaysians, as he insists that they have to become Muslim before they are accepted as Malaysians. I feel sorry for him, as he did help to build Malaysia and in the process made his cronies and himself very, very rich. He claims Najib stole money, which is true, and he is now in jail, but refuses to acknowledge that he and his cronies are equally guilty of stealing from the country. Dr. Mahathir's interview seems to suggest that he was desperate to be accepted as a Malay because he was an immigrant. Dr. Mahathir's paternal grandfather was an Indian from Kerala and he married a Malay woman. Many of us may have forgotten that Dr. Mahathir and the late Lee Kuan Yew were in the University of Malaya, Singapore campus together, and they never saw eye to eye. Both turned out to be statesmen, and LKY made Singapore into a clean, corrupt-free state by pursuing meritocracy, and Dr. Mahathir made Malaysia into a state catering for the Malays with the NEP policies and handouts. Religious studies were promoted in Malaysia, and meritocracy took a back seat as incompetent Malays were pushed up in higher jobs in civil service, creating blocks in the administration due to lack of experience and incompetence. Our population is nearly 34 million in 2022. Our GDP was then 430,895 billion, which is about maybe 6 to 7 billion lower than in Singapore. Our GDP is ranked 36 and Singapore is 35. But we must remember our population is 34 million and the population of Singapore is only 5 million. Whatever legacy Dr. Mahathir had is now in the gutter, and I wonder what Malaysians will think of him when he passes. Perhaps the biggest racist is gone, yet I feel sorry for a man of his stature who has become Nyanyok in his last days. I think Dato Anwar is correct and now accepts my belief that is the Malays who stole from the Malays. It's time for Tun San to be investigated as well, just as Tun Daim, his long term crony, is now being investigated. Sources have told Utusan Melayu that MACC has also raided 4 companies involved in the contract said to be worth $4 billion, including 3 investment firms linked to a Tan Sri tycoon who was not named. In August 2019, 77 companies bid for contracts that would run for 15 years and involve around 12,500 vehicles and is said to be estimated the cost of 300 million annually starting from the 5th year. Spencer has been given an extension to manage this fleet of cars for the government at that point, and also eventually joined and won the bidding war. What a clever way of stealing money that belongs to the Rakyat and gives the perk to the government sector to corrupt them so they will do what the government tells them to do. We also hear that KPJ has started proceedings and sued the previous board of directors for siphoning KPG money into personal accounts. Being a Johorian, I am upset as the people of Johor are being cheated by a board which was mainly Malay as well, and this would have affected the health of the Johor people, where KPJ became beyond economic reach for them. The courts and the MACC will be busy, I'm sure, in 2024, and I pray that the Parliament separates the AG's office from the Public Prosecutor's office and remove them from the Prime Minister and makes them answerable to the Parliament under supervision of the Agong. I do expect our new Agong from the 1st of February to be an ombudsman for 30 million people in Malaysia. It would also enlighten you a little more if you listen to Mariam Mokhtar's view on the NEP policy, which was a failure and provided the elite Malays the excuse to accumulate riches at the expense of the poor Malays who are still suffering as they have been fed religious education instead of STEM education for their progress. On hindsight, this is seen as a way to control the poor Malays and use religion to create a racist Malaysia, as Dr. Mahatir has done, and is now insisting that unless you are Muslim, you cannot claim Malaysia as your country. Many reports have been filed against Dr. Mahathir's statements about India's not being loyal to Malaysia. If this is not racist and seditious, I wonder what is. Let's see if Dato Mahathir gets charged for inciting racial unrest. Thank you for listening, my friends, and until we have another issue for discussion, have a great week. Bye for now.